Hey guys, Marsingan here, bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video, and today we are going to be talking speculation for the Part 2 LR for the Cell celebration, the April Fool's celebration. We know that we will be getting the Part 2 LR based on the release date from previous years, sometime within the next, it should be within 2 weeks, right? I think Super Buu was the one I double checked, released on the 17th. So that would obviously be like 11 days from now. So if we're looking at that kind of time zone, we probably won't see any sort of teaser or Twitter info or anything like that until like the 14th or 15th at the earliest. So probably still a good week away from any sort of news on the Part 2 LR. But you never know. Obviously, like Golden Week starts basically the week after that. So with the schedules now synced and everything sort of shuffled a little bit, maybe we'll get the Part 2 LR a little bit earlier. We know that as of right now, the only thing we know about for next week in terms of content is Monday evening or Tuesday morning, depending on which time zone you are in. We're getting the story event with the 16 support memory. We're also getting a bunch of missions for the Frieza and Goku Frieza Blue Zone stage. But other than that, that's kind of all we really know about upcoming. So maybe that could be moved up a little bit. Otherwise, we're going to have a very slow week next week. But we're going to speculate about the Part 2 LR. It will be a yellow coin LR if they follow the usual trend. We were talking about it on stream earlier today. And obviously, there is the possibility that it could be a Carnival LR. We do need to have more single drop Carnival LR banners so that the single Carnival LRs, the ones that aren't part of like the worldwide and the anniversary, they have more opportunities to return by there being these more banners. But at the moment, as it stands, last year for Ginyu it was a yellow coin LR, so that's what we're expecting. The interesting thing as well will be to see what the leader skill could be, because of course now that we're moving up to like Dokkan Fests and Carnival units having this like up to 220 leader skill, are we going to see a slight bump for yellow coin LRs as well? Obviously that remains to be seen. Now there's a couple of different things here. Shout out to everyone who was at the stream this morning who gave some ideas as well. We're going to go through some ideas for the Part 2 LR. Some are more likely than others, of course, but trying to tie them into the theme of the celebration and the new Cell himself, right? So the first one that I brought up here was some version of the androids, right? 17 and 18. It could be a Joined Forces character like this one. Obviously these are the future versions, but it could be the normal timeline version. We could see an exchange. I remember in the past we got the physical androids that exchange into 16. I think now that we have that as a mechanic, a lot of people really want to see a reversible exchange 17 and 18, but I don't feel like that's something that's very likely for them to introduce as like for a yellow coin LR right after the anniversary. We know that these big anniversary mechanics often don't get like doled out liberally, like they just get used every now and then, right, when they first become a thing. So I don't know if like a random Part 2 yellow coin LR would get the reversible exchange mechanic, but that obviously would be very cool for a 17 and 18 unit. They tie in, of course, like being on Worldwide Chaos and then the androids for the full 220 lead for Cell. So I think that would be a pretty solid option. There is also the possibility of something like a new version of Goku Black and Zamasu, but again, like same with the androids, it's either going to be like a new Joined Forces or maybe an exchange, probably not a reversible exchange. And then these guys, whilst they are on Worldwide Chaos, they're not on Accelerated Battle and they're obviously not androids, so they wouldn't get the full leader skill. I mean, they share some links with Cell, they have big bad bosses, but I think with the way Cell's passive works, what we've seen from like the support banner unit 18, obviously has support being more around tournament participants. I think we're probably looking at a more tournament participants kind of thing than Worldwide Chaos. So there's a couple of options here. I think the biggest one, the one that I think is the most likely, the one that if I had to try and guess is the one I would probably go for, is an MVP 17. And there's a couple of reasons for this, right? Obviously he's on tournament participants and he's an android, so he gets the full leader skill. He's a character that has in the past, especially this guy, been a very good like support unit on release, very good in the meta. His EZA was very good when he first got it as well. This guy's just a very solid unit overall. So a new one would be very interesting. And the thing that makes me think about potential for a new LR17 as well is the fact that when it came to the anniversary and people were speculating about who the other superclass character was going to be, obviously we ended up getting the Frieza and Goku reversible exchange, and a lot of people were expecting a sort of Frieza, Goku and 17, right? Or even if it was just a new Goku and Frieza, that they had 17 in like their animations or a unit super or a standby or something like that, right? And instead we got that Frieza and Goku combo with like pre-Tournament of Power and some post-Tournament of Power like animations and stuff, but 17 was completely missing from any part of their card, right? So having a new LR17 coming out, who obviously then would work well with those units and the other Tournament of Power and Reps of Universe 7 units, would be good, because then he's also going to work on Cell's team. I imagine he would be, again, designed largely as a support, probably for tournament participants, because that would allow him to work on both of those kind of teams very, very well. And obviously he has animations, like, if they're going to have the Goku and Frieza, like, separated, taking some of his animations from that final battle against Jiren could be very cool. Like the crazy multiple ki blasts that he fires out while Frieza and Goku are charging down Jiren. Like, it'd be very cool. He could even potentially, I mean, obviously this kind of restricts him a little bit, but as long as they make it so that it doesn't make or break the card, he could have like a unit super with a Goku or a Frieza, which then gives him like some sort of little extra buff. We don't want it to be one of those things where he's not good if he's not getting that, because then obviously it lowers his value on Cell's team. Although you can run the Frieza and Goku card on Cell's team as well, to be fair. So that would be cool. I think MVP 17 is a really good choice. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. Some other choices going by the tournament participants. We have a Kefla. I know a lot of people want to see a new Kefla. We had that whole thing ages ago with the random like new Kefla asset that was shown on like a banner and then quickly changed back to an existing in-game one. That's obviously led people to believe that a new Kefla is going to be coming soon at some point for quite a while now, because they haven't used that art anywhere in the game. So as a summonable LR, that could easily be like her SSR art, and then the final LR version could be Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan 2, doesn't necessarily have to be base, just some version of Kefla. Because Kefla is on Accelerated Battle and obviously on tournament participants, so she would be on the full 220 lead for Cell. One thing you have to remember is like these combos we've had before where, you know, Kale's Part 2 LR with Super Buu. Sometimes the Part 2 LR has got nothing to do with the Part 1 unit, and then even when they do, they're not necessarily going to be, like, just because Cell is the Part 1, even if the Part 2 LR kind of fits on his team, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be an extreme unit. So a character like a Kefla or something would work relatively well. The only problem would obviously be if she is geared around superclass or like providing support to superclass or something like that, which hopefully they would design the Part 2 LR, same we've been saying about like MVP 17, that if they're going to give support, it would be more tournament participants based, so that it still works on Cell's team but then works on some of these other teams as well, right? Because when Universe 6 eventually gets more buffs, then those characters would still be getting buffed by her as well, as long as they are the specific tournament participants ones. So I think that could work really well. And at least remember, Cell doesn't have any sort of restriction in his passive. That it's not like he has to be run with extreme characters. Obviously he wants to have big bad bosses active, but if the Part 2 LR ends up being like a floating support, it doesn't really matter whether they're super or extreme, right? So Kefla's definitely an option there. But of course, if we are talking about an extreme unit, we also have the option for a new hit. Because we're not just going to get the Part 2 LR, we should hopefully get like an Easy A or something like that as well. So a hit would then give us the opportunity to get the STR God Goku and Hit Easy A, which of course they are tournament participants as well. So that could end up being an interesting combo for Cell's team, having the God Goku and Hit Easy A and then a new Hit as well. Hit is a character that people have wanted to see get a new proper premium unit for a while, especially with things like the introduction of the domain mechanic. People want to see like the time stop, like time freeze domain. That would be really cool. So a new Hit is definitely up there. So tournament participants, we got a couple of options from the Tournament of Power that I think would be very, very good as new additions to this team. Hit is an extreme unit, but obviously he doesn't have big bad bosses. He has a bit of a weird link set. it's not like he would go super well with the other Cell units. I mean, he does have shocking speed, which some of them have, and then obviously he would have fierce battle, but that's kind of it. So some of these units that are not going to link specifically well with Cell himself would obviously have to be providing like a decent amount of support, but I think that would be a good role for the Part 2 LR force if it is going to be a unit that's viable for Cell's team. Now, since we mentioned Hit, we got to give a shout out. Somebody in the stream mentioned it, even though like they themselves said that they don't think it's super likely, which I probably would agree. But if we're going to have a Hit, it could be the Hit from the Universe 6 tournament, which means it could also potentially be a new blue Kaioken Goku. I know that's a dual Dokkan Fest that people have wanted to see for a while now, is the blue Kaioken Goku versus Hit. So either one of those could potentially be an option for the Part 2 LR, because again, this guy is on Accelerated Battle as well as tournament participants, so he would be getting the full 220 lead from Cell. Of course, it is another Goku, right? So who knows? Amatsu might do that again. So it's another superclass character, but as we've already said, if they make him like a really good support, then that would potentially be useful for Cell's team. I feel like that's not really a typical sort of like archetype for a Kaioken Goku to be a support. They're normally more about attack power, so it would be interesting. Like, this guy could come out as the Part 2 LR, be a crazy like damage dealing unit with relatively good defense and like no kind of support, and then realistically he wouldn't be like an ideal choice for Cell's team, although potentially, you know, he's still going to work on there depending on the build. But yeah, blue Kaioken Goku, I'm not sure how likely I think that is. I think something like a Hit potentially from the Tournament of Power rather than the Universe 6 one is more likely, but either way, we could potentially see a blue Kaioken Goku. And then speaking of Gokus, right, if we're talking about Android / Cell Saga, it's funny that this is the only like kind of art for a Bye Guys Goku that we have in the game. This free-to-play farmable one from way back when we had the One Piece crossover. So this card obviously not available anymore at all. But yeah, an LR Bye Guys Goku. Back when we first got Goku Gohan and the AGL Cell, who of course have just got their EZAs, when they first came out for Golden Week, a lot of people speculated that the Bye Guys Goku would be the Part 2 LR. And then of course we ended up getting the sort of like what if Goku and Gohan like fighting Cell together, which is really cool. I really like that card. Hopefully they get an EZA sometime soon, because obviously now that we've EZA'd the Goku, Gohan and Cell, means they can't be, it's not unreasonable to expect they could get an EZA sometime soon. But yeah, Bye Guys Goku could certainly be interesting. Again, this guy's on Accelerated Battle and tournament participants, so he'd be on the 220 lead. I think they could do some really good stuff with him. Obviously potential unit super or extra buffs if there's a Gohan on the team, which would work well with the STR Goku Gohan, the Super Saiyan 2 one from the anniversary, the Super Easy 8 in Super Saiyan 2 one, a couple of different options, and then obviously on just like a Goku family or Super Saiyans or Bond of Parent and Child, Earthbred Fighters, all these other teams. There's a bunch of other Gohans that you could use instead on those teams. So this could be a cool option. Again, I think if it is going to be a super class unit, it's much better if they're giving support, because then they'll be useful for Cell's team regardless of not necessarily being a super good like linking partner or anything. But obviously we have to wait and see. Now, another thing that people I know want to see that gets mentioned as a dual Dokkan Fest quite a lot is the 17 versus Piccolo. We don't really have like, there's very few 17s and 18s actually from the Cell Saga like in the game. And same with Piccolo. I think this is the only one, right? The Android / Cell one, the one from the post Kami absorption. So it's well, actually his active skill is fusing with him, right? So technically the first part of the card is pre-fusion, but this would be kind of interesting. The fight is really good. It's one of those like fights that gets mentioned a lot that people really like because it's got like good choreography. It's just like Piccolo and 17 going at it. It's pretty good. It's one of those things where as much as a lot of people like it, I don't know if it's a combo that would be hype enough to headline a celebration as like a dual Dokkan Fest, even though personally I think it would be very cool to see. So either one of them as a Part 2 LR could definitely work. I feel like 17 is maybe more likely because obviously he is an Android's character. Although funnily enough, this version of 17 isn't on Worldwide Chaos, because I guess it wasn't until it's only the future Androids version that actually were like really driving the whole world into chaos, right? I mean, the androids were on a bit of a rampage, like hunting down Goku in the Android Cell Saga, a few casualties along the way and stuff like that, but they weren't like, I guess, a fully active worldwide threat at that point. So the funny thing about that is the Cell Saga version of 17, unless they decided to put him on Worldwide Chaos, wouldn't actually be on Cell's leader skill. Because obviously you've got to remember the Cell Saga versions of 17 and 18 are obviously not on tournament participants, because by the time the Cell games happens, Cell is already Perfect Cell, so they've already both been absorbed, so they're obviously not in any way participating in the tournament, right? So funnily enough, the actual Cell Saga versions of 17 and 18 wouldn't even be on Cell's leader skill, so maybe that isn't a great option for a Part 2 LR, which I guess brings us back to then that same issue with Piccolo, right? Because Piccolo is not on Worldwide Chaos, obviously. He's not on tournament participants. I mean, I guess he doesn't really do anything. Like, I don't know if any of the other characters other than Goku and Gohan technically on tournament participants, the ones, even like the ones from the Cell games, because technically they're the only ones that like properly fight Cell in the supposed like tournament fight until, you know, the arena gets destroyed, the rules all just kind of go out the window. Like obviously these guys all fight, I say fight, they mostly just get beaten up, but fight a bunch of like Cell Juniors, but I don't know if any of those other characters actually count as being on tournament participants, because like even we got that Vegeta that is the this is the one that like goes crazy after Trunks gets killed, right, and attacks Cell like during the Cell thing. So yeah, he is on tournament participants. So I guess we could get a Piccolo from the specific Cell games part who is on tournament participants, and then he would be on Cell's 170 at least. He's not on Accelerated Battle though, even with the Kami fusion, so he wouldn't be on the full 220 team. So I think these guys, unfortunately, as much as they are like an Android/Cell Saga sort of combo that I know people want to see, they don't really fit super well like with Cell, unfortunately. And then a couple of other random ones to bring up is we have the Hercule. I think I checked every Hercule card that I could see under tournament participants, and none of them are the Cell games ones. They're all just Buu Saga Hercules. And obviously we know he doesn't really do much in the Cell Saga, right? Shows up, like attacks Cell, does nothing, gets immediately blasted out of the ring, and that's kind of it, other than him just being there and then taking all the credit at the end. But we don't have a Cell Saga Hercule. I don't think it's a good pick for a Part 2 LR because he does so little. I mean, his super attack animations would just be similar to the kind of thing we've already seen, right, of him doing a flurry of attacks that seemingly have no effect. And then that's kind of it, right? So unless he is, again, like a top tier support kind of character, I don't think he's a very good pick. Just in terms of the assets, like the animations they could use and stuff like that. A Cell games Hercule is probably not a great pick. And then, of course, how could we not mention, because, you know, we put him in the thumbnail, is it finally time? Are we finally going to get LR Kid Buu? Because obviously he is on Worldwide Chaos. I think Kid Buu is the only, or one of the only Buu types that's on Accelerated Battle, so he would be on the full 220 for Cell. And obviously Cell's team, one of the things I struggle with its STR Cell's team is trying to work out for each particular event that you're going to do just who to bring to be like a really good slot 1 unit, especially like, you know, Cell post revival. It's only really the one who revives has that potential to go slot 1. So what if we finally get LR Kid Buu? Obviously he'd be a big bad boss's character, and he is just like a mega slot 1 tank, like a Tech Broly kind of thing, but you know, Tech Broly if he released now. So Tech Broly, but even better. That would probably make him like a must summon, because Kid Buus are on so many good teams at the moment, like Demonic Power, obviously Worldwide Chaos, things like Accelerated Battle, Uncontrollable Power for the Brolys, things like Transformation Boost puts him on a load of other teams as well. Like if he came out and he was basically Tech Broly 2.0, like, he would potentially almost be a must summon, which for yellow coin LRs is very, very rare. So, obviously, LR Kid Buu is a meme, like, has been for years. Like, now, will they ever finally release him before the game goes away? Who knows? It would be very funny that he finally gets released as an LR, and it's like the yellow coin part 2 in a very random celebration with a Cell, like a Cell Saga Dokkan Festival things. But I don't think it's outside the realms of possibility. If they were going to drop an LR Kid Buu and it's not in a big Majin Buu Saga themed celebration, then at least he fits that, like the theme, right? He fits on the 220 lead for Cell. So maybe, just maybe, it could be finally time for LR Kid Buu. But let me know what you guys think down below. Bunch of different options here, all speculation, of course. Some definitely make a lot more sense than others. Some would definitely fit better on like Cell's team. But obviously, ideally, we want the unit to be good on other teams as well. So I think, for me, I'm still going with MVP 17 as the more likely option. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Especially if there's any characters that we didn't mention in this video that you think have a chance to be the Part 2 LR. Do let me know down below. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.